Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to KSP. As I mentioned last time, I finally got my hands on the uh, Clampatron, the senior, and I'm actually going to put my lab section up. Now, I did realize that I forgot to collect my RCS, so I can't make my little tug like I made before that has uh, is basically some RCS ports and the tank and all that stuff. Uh, Anyone who's watched my series a little bit will also notice that the station looks a little bit different this time than it did before. That's because I'm actually planning on doing something a little different. Um, I'm hoping to do something a little different. And so hopefully this will work out the way I want it to, and it'll be a nice, neat little design. Uh, After this, I actually am going to land on the moon. Now, I've actually already recorded that footage, and I was going to add it into this video, but that took about 2 hours. So, yeah. What I'm going to do is this is actually going to be a really short video just of me putting the station in orbit. Now, I didn't rename the station in this episode because, like I said, I came back. I actually got done doing this mission, took a small break, and then did the next mission off to the moon. So I hadn't really thought about renaming the station until the other video. So I'll rename the station in the other video. But for right now, it's just basically going to be the station core. So the trick now is getting this thing actually in orbit. Now, the reason you saw me put that little probe body on there is because I actually do plan to deorbit this bottom section here. And I'll give it a few batteries later on and whatnot. To tell you the truth, this was actually a very bad idea because, as it turned out, I needed so much more fuel, and actually I really should have put wings on this thing, and that was totally and completely my fault for not doing that. This thing was incredibly unstable. Also, no wait, no, okay, not this time around. There was another time when I had the what is it called? The I don't remember the name of the stupid thing now, but I had basically ended up having to put the fuel tank lines on one by one. So I think that's in the next video where I forgot to do all that stuff. So, yeah, so we're going to launch this thing, send it up into orbit. Oh, yeah, forgot the struts. I always got to remember the struts. But yeah, we're going to basically put this thing in orbit, and when we put it into orbit, I'm going to point it. You'll notice I point it north to south, and that is because if you point it in any other direction, the entire station is going to have a tendency to want to rotate. Now, the station itself isn't rotating, it's staying stationary, but because of how the planet is moving around the station, or how the station is moving around the planet, it kind of gives the illusion that the station is actually rotating around. So you point it north to south, so that way, yeah, as you see it, it kind of flipped out of control a little bit there on me. So yeah, took it back, and basically instead of turning it beforehand, this time I waited until all the tanks were empty and then did my maneuver, which was really actually kind of bad. Should not have done that, but the ending result was I did get the thing into orbit. However, I didn't get into the orbit that I wanted it into. Ideally, for stations and stuff like that, you want them at about 120. The reason being is because of the time acceleration. The interval for the time acceleration is 120 meters above the surface of the planet. So, as you see, I had to turn back a little bit because I noticed that my my Apple apps was actually dropping, and that's not good. So, fortunately, we ended up having enough fuel in this thing to get it up to, I think we set it originally at like 108, which was fine because once it's in space, and it's not going to take a lot of effort to get this thing into a slightly higher orbit. But before that, really, it was just a case of making sure to get everything inclined properly and all that. Now, the reason you see those little solar panels on the top, those are temporary solar panels. I did collect the new solar panels in the next video, and I will be showing you guys all that and kind of explaining what I'm going to do. I have planned something similar to my old station, where it's going to have the bits that come off, although this time around you'll notice I only have the 2 on the side instead of having 3. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to build the tri-sections off the sides of the 2 bits instead of building it off the main station itself. So it'll have, the same set, it'll just be a little bit different. And I'm trying to think. Yeah, okay. So I should be able to pull off what I'm trying to do fairly easily. So there's the detachment. We're going to go ahead and deorbit the next section. Now, you'll notice that, yeah, I did transfer the fuel in. I lucked out because that tank had just enough fuel for me to be able to refill the station because, of course, how the fuel drains from the top down. So that's basically it, guys. I'm going to let this thing come down on its orbit, let it collide with the ground, show you guys the awesome, cool explosion. I know this was only like an 8-minute video, but next time will be much longer. So I'm done, guys. I'm going to faff around with this thing a little bit and get ready to post the next video. So, guys, I'm done. And to that, I'm going to say sayonara.